Hello.
Hello. I thought I would try calling you.
And I tried to call you. Are we on two calls?
Don't know, but we're definitely talking to one another.
Which is a good start for a podcast, isn't it?
It is.
This is a podcast in which two friends talk about the pleasures, absurdities, and imperfections of being human. I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller. Welcome to Midlifing.
I like the idea of a parallel universe podcast.
Sliding doors. How are you?
Sliding doors. Gwyneth Paltrow.
Back when she liked to pretend she was English.
Is she not English?
No.
I knew that.
Now, do you know what her mother is called?
It's just not a chance. I mean, I know, wasn't her mother a famous actor?
Yes, Blythe Danner. She was in Westworld, the 1973 Michael Crichton adaptation starring Yul Brynner. There you go.
Sorry,
Is
wait,
that right?
there's a
Or was she in the sequel?
1973...
No, maybe she was in the sequel to it.
There's a 1973 version. You mean Westworld?
It might not be. Yeah.
Westworld's as old as the hills.
Oh, gosh, yeah. The TV show is like a remake of a 1970s. It might not be 73. It might not be as old as that. And now that I think about it, Blythe Danner might have been in the sequel. Not sure. Richard something or other was in the first one.
Yes, he was, wasn't he?
With the, what's he called? Richard? I can see him. I can see his face. Anyway. Are you Googling?
No.
Because that's cheatling.
This podcast is increasingly becoming a conversation in which you recall things about movies and TV shows that I know nothing about, or should recall but don't.
Or when it's not that, you're saying, have you heard of this sport? And I go, no, I have not heard of that sport.
I mean, it's amazing we have as many listeners as we do, really.
All 6 of them.
Yeah.
Tell me, how's your week been?
My week has been intense, Lee Miller.
Oh, wow. Now, I presume you mean it's been hardcore and busy, not you've been camping.
Not that I've been what?
I'm so sorry. Camping.
Camping?
Intense. I mean, you can hang up on me right now.
Wow.
I know that was bad.
Shall we just stop this episode?
I mean, I think I just won. Tell me, how has it been?
No, I
intense?
didn't spend any time in a tent, but I will be soon. Actually, I'm wearing shorts. I'm wearing shorts quite a bit lately, cosmically, because I think that cosmically, I'm wearing them cosmically as opposed to wearing cosmic shorts, which is, I think it's going to work that the temperatures will warm up as a consequence of me wearing shorts. Like the cosmos will see that I'm wearing shorts and go, we've better warm things up for that boy.
Oh, I see. So you're cosmically ordering warmer weather through wearing shorts.
Correct. Which does mean that this podcast I'm recording it. I've got cold knees.
Yeah.
Truth be told. But yes, I'll be in a tent in a couple of weeks, actually.
I presume not in this country. I presume
yes,
somewhere
in this
better.
country.
Holy shit!
Yeah, I've got good warm clothes.
You're going to need them. I will be in Malta in a couple of weeks.
Oh, I did see that you're the star. You and Bob are the stars of the show.
We're the closing headline act of the conference.
Are you the closing headline act?
That's how I think of the keynote on the last day. The closing headline.
Oh, it's not the opening day. Yeah.
No. I'm like Beyonce and on Glastonbury. You know, I'm on Sunday night on the Triangle stage or whatever it's called. It's not the Triangle stage, is it?
Yeah, I
anyway.
don't know. You're basically Paul McCartney.
I mean, that hurts my heart.
I thought it might.
Yeah, you know I don't like the Beatles.
I know you don't like the Beatles. You've got strong opinions about lots of things, don't you? Do you think you have stronger opinions about things than I do? Or is it just that...
No.
No.
No. I am more intemperate in my articulation of them, and also I can be convinced really quickly not to believe that. No, the Beatles are really good, Lee. Oh, okay, right, cool. The Beatles are great. I love them. I am.
You're a flibbertigibbet.
I am the very definition of flibbertigibbet. Anyway, you said you had an intense week. I took us in a silly direction. Tell me about the intensity of your past week.
I don't think it's that interesting, actually. I think it's just I had 2 days of annual leave, which they got hijacked by a work deadline.
No.
Stolen from me.
Oh.
Yeah, that wasn't great. I didn't like that. Although it was funny because Tuesday was a little bit spring-like here. Not temperature-wise. Temperature was still fucking just as though, you just have to swear when you talk about the weather in this country, but just freezing still. Like, it was a posh 11 degrees, and but it was just, there was something, there was a guy mowing the lawns, the birds were doing their thing, the light was a little different, and the sun was just coming in the windows, which made it warm enough in the house to have a nap in the sun on my bed, and woke up just smiling, going, oh, that's all I needed for a holiday. That was 30 minutes of bliss.
And then back to filling in a form.
Back to the expression of
asking for
interest
money.
that was, exactly. So, it's been, and then just, lots of juggling and just that feeling, which is, again, this is not that interesting, but just that feeling of, what, if I've got to get through this week, I have to be very careful about how I look after myself through this week. So long days, early mornings, etc. Yeah. But I'm good. I made it.
Oh, well done. I'm glad you got to the other side. I feel your pain. I similarly had an intense week. Mine involved travelling as well, which kind of expedited my exhaustion.
Travelling is tiring, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a long haul. I was just up and down to London, but that's still like 3.5 hours from where I am.
That's right. That's you went
and I did it in a day.
You went and gave Rishi Sunak the finger, didn't you?
I was at the Palace of Westminster for a launch event. I was very polite. I shook the hands of MPs and I did not communicate my disappointment in their ilk.
Did you shake hands with both flavours of MP?
More than both. I shook hands with 3 different flavours of MPs.
Wait, there's a third kind in this country?
Yeah. Just hanging on by their fingertips, there's some Liberal Democrats.
What about Greens? Did you shake any Green hands?
I shook a Green councillor's hand. I didn't shake a Green MP's hand.
So were you crossing your fingers behind your back when you shook the hands of Conservative MPs?
No, because I'm still meeting a human being, and there are many people whose hands I shake who I might not agree.
Don't humanise them, Lee Miller.
There are lots. Oh no, there are lots of people that we care about in our lives who we might not agree with.
Oh, name one.
Name one person that we might like but don't agree with ideologically.
Exactly.
Each other.
Wait, what?
We're not always on the same page. I mean, I don't think we're that far away from one another, but we're not on the same page, and, all the time. There are things that we differ on, which is good.
Yeah, stracciatella or vanilla.
You're talking about ice cream flavours.
Matthew McConaughey.
Ugh, see? I mean, you'd actually go and watch a film with him, and I would set fire to the cinema in which it's being obviously with nobody in it. I wouldn't. What
a thoughtful human being.
Anyway,
well done you for going to the nation's, the centre of the nation's power, and shaking hands with those that wield it.
It was very strange because I had to take. This isn't the strange bit. I had to take identification, and you go through a process that is effectively like going on an aeroplane.
Did you have to hand in your knives, all the knives that you take in on your person that
you're
you
not
normally take?
You're not allowed. You're not allowed to take knives in. Just
Did
like
you pull
a
little revolver out from your sock as well? Because I know you keep one down there.
You put everything in a little tray and it's scanned, and then you go through like the little
your silencer, your grenades.
Yeah, all of that. Yeah, I did all of that. You're also not allowed to take liquids in, just like an aeroplane, which I thought was quite interesting.
Oh. And was
Yeah.
there some kind
Anyway.
of when they sat you down? Was there some kind of choreography of things you're supposed to do and not do in an emergency?
No, they didn't do that because it was quite clear where the emergency exits were.
Right.
I didn't have to have that explained to me. So it was odd because I walked in, and I had to go past a lot of tourists, people on their holiday, going to see the Palace of Westminster and appreciate the Houses of Parliament in all its glory, taking photographs, having selfies.
I mean,
And
that blows my mind. That part of it.
Well, it blew my mind as well because I was kind of like, "What's going on? Why are people doing this?" And of course, this is a 600 or 700-year-old building. Of course, people have come from around the world to take a photograph. It's really old. That bit sort of shouldn't have surprised me, but it did because I hadn't gone there for a day out, and it was just a very, very weird sort of transition from moving past. And now, obviously, I went in through the visitors' entrance, which is the same place that school kids on tours go through.
Yeah, so you weren't that important, just so that people start to get a sense of your
No.
your meteoric rise, the corridors of power of this country.
I did stand in the antechamber outside of both the House of Lords and the House of Commons. That was quite interesting to be able to look in both directions, look in one direction. To my left, there was the Commons. To my right, there was the Lords.
Are they really opposite each other like that?
Wow. Yeah.
And I'm
you can
guessing
see
that they're
them.
smaller than you imagine.
I didn't press my nose up to the glass because Parliament was in session, so it would have been bad form.
And tell me, what was your costume? What costume did you wear? Did you
So
Russian
I
Cossack?
wore-
I hope you weren't Russian Cossack.
No, I repped a series of English designers.
You did, of course you did.
That's what I went with. I went with Oliver Spencer. I went with Arket. Now, both English designers, but they make in Portugal. And then I had a private white VC overcoat, which is designed and made in Manchester. And I was also wearing a pair of Dr. Martin boots, but the made in Britain Dr. Martin range.
So there's also a made overseas version of Dr. Martens.
Yeah,
China, I guess.
which I don't buy because the quality of the shoe is significantly lower, and they're also significantly cheaper. It's a cheaper based price point.
So I didn't
get the ones that are
realise
made
you could
in
still buy,
Northampton.
because Doc Martens were they Northampton?
Yeah, Northampton.
Are they still made
yeah.
there? Those ones that are Great Britain made.
The Great British ones, yeah, the Great British ones are made in just outside of Northampton, so they're made in Northamptonshire. Yeah.
And how much? Can I ask?
two
How much would
pairs.
it cost to buy a pair of Dr. Martens made in Great Britain boots? Dr. Martens boots. Oi.
Starting point would be around about 250, 260 versus the kind of between 90 and 120 starting point for the
knockoffs.
made in China version. No, they're
I know
still
the original,
brand, it's
but
just
not the exactly. Wow.
Yeah. However, I will say, if you pay attention to sales, you can get them for half price, which is what I did. Which is why I got two pairs on the same
you're
day.
married to the best bargain hunter in the world.
She was the one who sent me the link. She said, "Lee, have you seen these boots?" Because I was looking for a new pair of boots because my Blundstones were about to give up the ghost, which I've been wearing those boots into the ground, and I needed a new pair.
Do your DMs?
Of shoes.
Do your DMs? Do they have laces or are they slip-on ones?
I went with laces, which was quite a shift from Blunnies.
Yeah, it's hard if you're going in and out of dance studios. Oh, lace them up.
Yeah,
Unlace
or
them.
walking the dog.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you know,
I
just
don't.
slip 'em. Yeah.
I don't go in and out of dance studios that often anymore.
No, I guess you
might
don't.
not be surprised to hear. I used to, not so much now.
If you ever come and visit me, you can go in and out of the dance studio just to practice. And also, you could totally wear your designer English things as well. And you can look left and see the toilet, and look right and see a funny little meeting room.
Okay, I'll do that. It sounds ace.
I said, was it a good day? Like, was it interesting?
Yes, it was fascinating. It was really fascinating. I had so I was one of the speakers.
Oh, did you get flop
So
sweats?
No, I didn't. I was actually getting. This is going to sound weird. I was getting quite anxious about the fact that I wasn't anxious. And I realised
we
I
are
wasn't
strange
anxious.
creatures, Lee Miller.
I
We
know,
are strange
it's...
creatures.
Yeah, I'm nervous that I'm not nervous.
And just listeners, I don't mean just Lee and me. I mean human beings.
I thought I should have been more nervous, but I realised that I had been incredibly well prepared by two colleagues. Because I was asked, this was the launch of something called the Southwest Think Tank, and I was asked to speak to policymakers about what policies would need to change in order to support the industry that I was speaking for. And I was speaking for the creative, cultural and digital industries in the Southwest. And obviously, I'm speaking in direct relationship to the training that is happening for them through university offers. So that was what I was doing.
Did you look at notes at all, or you had it all down?
Oh no, I looked at notes. No, I looked at notes because I had to do kind of an introductory thing, and I read that, and then I was really well prepared. We had 3 questions that were sent in advance, and I'd written longhand my responses to those questions, but I didn't look at them. That was kind of a rehearsal process for me. But I had been briefed incredibly well by a colleague, or a couple of colleagues, but one particularly, a fabulous woman called Alicia. She's just like all over policy, and she just really understands things. And so she just broke it down for me in a meeting and in a couple of emails beforehand, saying, "Okay, here are things that you should think about. Go away and read more about this. Look at this thing." And so she just directed my gaze so that I could be prepared going in. It's really great having people who are dead good at what they do helping you.
Yeah.
I suspect that's not a very interesting story, except to say that it was a fun day out.
No, I don't know. I think it's. I mean, I got lost in my thoughts then about policy and just what it must be like in Parliament to be, that you're just on the receiving end of people wanting things. And, making cases for what it is that they want, and what it's like for the people that work for politicians, I forget what they call them, civil servants, but who are effectively, they must be filtering that stuff, or at what point does it get told to the actual people who are starting to make those kinds of decisions, and whoa.
We've got a new person who started at work this week who is a co-appointee between the local council and the university, and they are they're somebody who's effectively to reflect upon and try to develop policies over the next 2 years.
So they use the word wonk, isn't it? It's such a curious word. We talked policy wonk.
Yeah, policy wonk. I wouldn't dare to call her a policy wonk. I've only had one conversation with her, but a really interesting woman.
Yeah.
We were talking about exactly that, and so she's worked in central government, and she says the thing about the job that she's in, or was in, because obviously she's now seconded to us for 2 years, is that you can on one day be doing education, the next day you could be fielding questions about immigration, and she said, and that's her role. MPs get moved around even more, and I think we were talking about this the other week.
Yes, and how they just can't possibly
don't know anything about what they're talking about, and even ministers who are supposed to be speaking directly to that particular area don't know anything, which I think we see exposed time and time again when people are interviewed on TV, and you kind of get horrified and disgusted. And it's like, how can you not know that? And of course, actually, the moment that you start to try to unpick the information about a topic, you realise, holy cow!
Yeah, and I
this one thing is
and I just get so angry about politicians. Well, I sound like I was slurring my ishins then. My politicians not answering questions. Like, why don't they answer the question? And then it kind of occurred to me after reading that thing, actually, because they don't know the answer, so they're just sticking to a kind of a rote thing. It's not because they're basically dodging the question. It's a weird sort of thing.
It's because they. Yeah, it's really odd where people, and I think possibly because we come from an academic context where if somebody asks you a question that you don't know the answer to, and you're good at what you do, you will say, I really don't know the answer to that. Let's try and figure it out. Let's talk it through.
Yeah,
let's explore,
I think that's rarer in the academy than it ought to be. I mean, I'd like to think that's the case, but
I've seen you be asked questions that you don't know the answer to, and I've seen you cough to it really comfortably and have a really open conversation about it. So I know that you absolutely do that.
I'm very comfortable doing it, but I'm just saying I've definitely been in situations where I think that I think I'm speaking about the academy in general. I think it should be more common than it is. I think we make up shit much more than we do, much more than we ought to.
Yeah, no. I fully agree with you. I know full well I've sat in rooms with people and somebody has said, "Oh, have you read such and such a thing?" And they've gone, "Oh, yes, of course." And you think, "No, you haven't."
I've told you about getting French philosophers' names wrong on purpose just to wind people up. I'm sure I've told you that.
Is it getting them wrong or is it mispronouncing them?
Sorry, Oh, both. Just both are equally annoying for people. Deleuze.
Deluge. Yeah. Deluge and guitar.
Walter Benjamin, isn't it? Anyway.
Oh, I love saying Walter Benjamin and watching people twitch when they're like, "It's Walter Benjamin." It's like, except I'm English, so come on.
Yeah, I know.
Let's not.
There's some pretty high horses
in
this room, aren't there? Let's just step down off them briefly.
But that one, I will always say Walter Benjamin because I feel like such an absolute tit.
I mean, I think if I spoke German,
yeah, exactly.
maybe. But even then, isn't it? I mean, I feel even bad saying.
Well,
I mean, I feel bad saying gnocchi in England because people don't know what you're talking about, right?
You didn't mind picking me up that it's pistachio.
Oh, I do that just absolutely because I just love seeing Italians twitch when you say, "I'll have the pistachio, thanks."
But it is one of those things, isn't it? Where this is a thing.
Cioccolato.
When you say, like, when somebody asks you to say something in Italian, or does your brain? No, hang about. I'm not explaining myself properly. I found that somebody asked me about a place in Lisbon the other day, like an area, and they sort of said, "Do you know this place?" And I repeated the place back, but I said it properly rather than the way that they were saying it. I'm going, because I didn't recognise the word when they said it. And I was like, "Oh, you mean," and I repeated it. And then as soon as I finished saying it, I went, "Sing. I thought, what a twatty thing to do. But I realised it's because my brain
when you were saying that stuff? Like, what costume did you have on?
I had
overalls, didn't you? Pink overalls, I'm sure.
But I had that moment where I immediately thought, does Simon fall into that trap where somebody asks him something about Italian and then he starts to talk Italian? Because you've got a much better grasp of the language. No,
I had a funny moment the other day during a lesson, and someone came to the Italian lesson, and someone came to the door. I said grazie, and then my Italian teacher, of course, could hear me because I still had my headphones on, my little in-ear things, and was just giggling in my ear. And the guy looked at me like, I said, sorry, that was a very odd. But I don't know. I definitely have done that thing, and I think it's pretty obnoxious both ways. Meaning, it's hard to know. Actually, it's really tricky, and I'll give you an example which makes it trickier. I'll get there in a minute, but because if I say a particular word the way it would be said in Italy, it's hard for it not to be correcting someone. And of course I do that, and I do that with my friends and colleagues, and we have a bit of a laugh about it. Because like pistachio, it is and stracciatella and all the other flavours of ice cream, which is pretty much the only Italian I know. But and
you are such a fibber.
I know it's true. But then the flip side, of course, is that if we're talking about something in English, and if I were to use let's say that of someone's name, the correct way to say that person's name, it might not be recognisable to people in England. So I'm effectively not only being a snob, I'm also obfuscating. I'm getting in the way of the conversation being understood.
Yeah,
and so I don't. That's a weird thing. And so the trickier example is in New Zealand growing up, and Now, the Maori language in New Zealand is much, much stronger than 40 years ago. I mean, it's incredible at the way in which it's flourished, not because I left, but certainly in the time that I left. So I left in 92, 93, really. And so there are place names, for example, in the North Island, there's a place called Paikakariki. And we never called it paikokariki. We called it paikok.
Right.
And if you said paikokariki, people would think you were being a dick, basically.
Right, yeah.
So that's a kind of a white or European, or sort of the anglicisation of, and there are other ones that are, which is just escaping me now, memory-wise, where you wouldn't even recognise, if you said the Maori version of the word, in my time, when I lived there, you wouldn't recognise it as the place name. So it's kind of, that's a weird situation when we're all part of the same country, and that there's this split between the way in which the word is said and the way in which this word, effectively in the Maori language, and in the way in which it's used colloquially. And so you see what I'm getting at. It's
absolutely. And I think, and now I'm kind of going, ooh, am I being unkind when I mispronounce Walter Benjamin, or I anglicise Walter Benjamin, and I'm kind of like, oh, yeah.
No, I think that's a different thing. I think that's just winding up the people in the crowd who really when I say crowd, I mean the four people in the,
I tell Bob everything because it's just, well, for two reasons. One, I need to unburden somewhere safe, and two, Bob cannot remember a single thing I've ever told her. So she goes, ooh, that's awful, 15 minutes later. So what do you think? So what do I think about what?
Right. So she sponges that stuff. She sponges it and it just disappears.
Yeah, and it's because she can remember lots of things. It's not that she's got a bad memory. It's that she is wired to be utterly disinterested in other people's affairs, and by affairs I mean business.
Well, how do you get on Bob's signal then? Like, what do you have to say to Bob for her to remember it for more than 15 minutes?
Probably don't tell her stuff about other people.
Oh, so there's just got a really great filter for that kind of thing.
She's just, anything that even starts to have the merest
sniff
hint that it might be gossip, she's just like, why would I need to know that? Why would that be interesting to me?